I really like that watermelon. It's really funny, Jose. All right, so I have only seen a couple people throw their data into the Google form that I sent in an announcement this morning. If we could do that before we get started, that would be awesome. So I'm going to put the link in the chat just to make that a little bit easier. Because once we have everybody's data, we can keep going on this lab. Sarah, I had a question about your data. Was it was 104 the resting heart rate? Sarah, can you hear me?
Yes, it was.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna modify this. 24. And Jordan, I'm gonna round yours if you don't mind. To 9.5. And don't put units, just put the number for the difference. Don't put BPM or anything like that. Just put the number. So those of you that just submitted, I'm just changing yours slightly to just put a number. All right, Gabe, so yours was 23 resting, I'm assuming, and 29 active? I just want to make sure I'm understanding.
That was me like saying from resting, right? Which was about 83 to 89 BPM.
So your two active trials, one was 23 and one was 29?
Like it would basically you add 23 to 29 from like 83, I guess.
Wait.
So
your
it said the difference, so I thought that meant
yes.
like I
so
would
you
put
was
in the
your
difference.
okay. So was your was the active heart rate like 106?
Active was like around there basically, kind of.
Or was it 112? Or did you do two trials and one trial was 106 and one trial was 112?
Basically,
we just need one number is what I'm trying to get at.
Oh.
Is it 23? Is it 29? Or is it an average of those two numbers?
I basically did two trials. So
okay,
it's like,
so we need to take an average of 23 plus 29 divided by 2. So I'm going to put down 26.
Okay.
For the average increase.
Okay.
Okie dokie.
My bad.
Anybody else putting in data? I love Melissa. You did laughter. Yeah. How did you get yourself to? I'm assuming you were the test subject.
Yeah.
How did you get yourself to laugh so much?
I just watched a bunch of TikToks or YouTube until I laughed, and then I
Okay.
did it before, and then once I started laughing, I took it after.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, the average increase in heart rate, not much for for laughing. Okay. All right. Is anyone else adding data? Otherwise, we will have to use this and just go with it. That's kind of sad that we only have 7, 8. Okay, an increase of 60. Woof, Jordan. Were you really huffing it?
Huh?
Were you really exercising, doing those high knees?
That was me.
Jonathan, sorry, I think I said Jordan. Jonathan,
Yeah.
because yours
You're
has
fine.
a severe increase.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Last call for data. Otherwise, I'm going to screen share so that we can all write this data down. Okay. Okay, so where we are sticking this data, so if you're double screening, if you're in your lab, hopefully you have your data right here in this your data section, and then the class data, this is where you're going to include yourself, include your data, whether you list yourself as number 1 or not, I don't care. Okay. You are going to put this data, and we want to write the activity type and the difference. So you are writing these columns right here. Okay. So type those into your data. And then I have a question for Gabe. Gabe, you have exercise, push-ups, and I think it looks like running. Did you do a combination of both?
Yeah, kind of.
Or did you do one trial with push-ups and one trial with running? Because I know
It
you
was
said you had 2 trials.
It was about a combination.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And you guys are all that physically fit? Good for you. I would give myself a 1 for that score.
What makes you think I used me?
Well, you put yourself. You put
Oh,
your own
crap.
name. That's okay.
Oops.
That's okay. Did you use your brother then? Did you use your
Yeah,
brother?
I used my brother.
You're always your brother.
Gabe's the best person to use. What do you want me to say?
No, I'm not.
I'm not talking about you, Gabe.
Yeah, I know.
All right. I want to make sure everybody has the data down before we keep going. Okey doke. So I'm surprised nobody attempted the decrease in heart rate and tried to do some meditation or some calming music.
I can't sit still for that long. I'm having
6,
trouble sitting
7.
still in this chair.
So I'm hoping that this is all the data points. And so what's our sample size? Can somebody tell me what N is? So N in our equations is going to be sample size. What is N?
7.
Yes, N is going to be 7. So then N minus 1 is going to be 6. So make sure you write that down somewhere while we do our standard deviation and standard error and all that mumbo jumbo. Are we done writing or do we need more time? No one's saying they need more time, so I'm assuming we're done writing. Let's calculate the mean. So add them all up, divide by 7. So our X bar, what are we getting? Let's go 2 decimal places after.
$21.07.
Perfect. Anybody not get that? Now would be the time to speak up because you're going to have to do these kind of calculations on your summative. Okay, does everybody have this? Can I get rid of this and go back to the lab?
Yes.
Sure.
All right, otherwise
Yeah.
take a screenshot of it so that you have it if you didn't write this stuff down. Okay, because I'm going to go back to the lab so that we can look at the equations. All right, so we've got that written down and whoopsies. And right here, average change in heart rate, that's technically the mean. So we can write right here, we can write 21.07. Then we need to calculate the standard deviation and then the standard error. So we have our X bar, which is 21.07. We have our N is 7. This X with a lowercase I or subscript I, that is our values. So that is our 9.5, 24, 5, 10, 13, 26, and 60. Okay. So why don't we all try calculating that, come up with an answer. Okay. And we'll see if you get the same as me, and then we'll talk about standard error. Questions before I start doing the math myself? Maddie, please. I need to do me. You do you. Okay. That one looks weird. Nope, guess not. Okay. Six. Okay. Anybody need more time? Okay. All right, that last data point, woof, that's really gonna throw us for a loop. All right, what are we getting? Somebody share.
I'll share. For the standard deviation, I got 18.79.
Oakley jokes. Did anybody get something similar to that? I got a little bit different, but maybe I rounded a little bit differently. I got 18.83.
As did I.
Okay, I tried to be consistent with the 2 decimal places since we went with 21.07, so I just went 2 decimal places throughout the whole thing. So maybe at the end point, I got the square root of 354.70. I was assuming if people didn't round that one and then they just took the square root of all the decimals in there, maybe it's a little bit different, but close enough. Anybody get something completely different? Maybe we need to look at the calculation. If you don't want to say it now, but you're going to say it later, that's cool. You can stick on the meeting. So let's go to standard error. So in order to do the standard error, we need to use the standard deviation. So Melissa, I'm sorry, what number did you say you were going to use?
79.
18.79, and I'm going to use 18.83. If it's anywhere in that 18.6 or above, use it, okay, because that's close enough. And then we're going to take that number divided by the square root of n. Don't forget you're taking the square root of 7, not 6. A lot of times people mess that up and then they use the n minus 1 instead of just n. And then sometimes that can screw you up. All right, so 2.65. All right, so mine is 7.11. Melissa, what did yours end up being?
Mine ended up being 7.09.
Okay, totally close enough. All right. Anybody else, anything different than that? All right, so my hope is that once we've done these, so we have these numbers here, we had 21.07 for the average. The standard deviation for the whole class was somewhere around 18.83 or 18.79, somewhere in that 18 range. And then standard error being 7.09 or 7.11, somewhere in that realm. And then what we need to do now is look at those people again that we had and try to group them into something that's a little bit similar. And yes, if we had a bigger sample size, this would be way better. But we'll use what we have. So everybody's the same age, so we can't base it on that. And let's just, everybody's pretty much, you all claimed that you were pretty physically active, okay, or in the median range. So let's go with maybe exercise. I have no idea what Beat Saber is.
It's a VR game where it's basically you take lightsabers and you slice blocks that come at you in different directions, and it goes to the beat of music.
Oh, fancy. Okay. So I'm gonna let you guys determine what you put together. Now, the thing with the Gabe, you did 2 different exercises. So I would say that one is probably the same. If I were you, I would put these 3. I hope all of you agree that Melissa's laughter activity, I think that's a real big outlier. do we all agree on that one? I think the laughter activity, really, you can't compare that to jumping jacks or dancing or even that Beat Saber thing. I'm assuming you like Star Wars, Jordan. I do too. So anyway, no.
No, I don't.
Oh,
I just
okay. It's just fun. So I would take out the laughter one. And I don't know about Jonathan's high knees. Jonathan, do you feel very confident in your measurement taking in the
It kicked him
lab?
out of the Zoom.
Oh, wonderful. Do I have to? He should be able to just join back in. Oh well.
He said he tried, but it was like
Sometimes Zoom
connecting.
doesn't let you join back in.
Yeah. It just like
really
told him it was connecting, but it just never let him join back in.
Well, that's great.
you should try turning off his Wi-Fi and turning it back on. It sometimes
Okay.
lets you back in.
I don't know what to do about that. Oh well. Because his increase of 60, I almost want to guess that was either an issue with data collection, because if he really had an increase of 60 beats per minute, that's some serious that's a serious increase in heart rate, like he was doing it for a massive amount of time. Because I see, Sarah, you did 25 jumping jacks. Alberto, how many jumping jacks did you do? Or was it
20.
like a 20 or so?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So those two somewhat correlate, I guess. Let's throw out, Jonathan's not here to complain, so let's throw out Jonathan's number. Because I also think that his exercise was probably a lot more intense than all these other activities based on, high knees. I've just done those myself. They suck. So let's throw out laughter and throw out high knees and redo the standard deviation calculation without laughter and high knees. And we'll do that because of intensity. Is there anybody else that, I don't know, Kate, were you like dancing up a storm? Was it like a discotheque in your house there, or?
No, I was just like playing music.
Do you think that dancing was as intensive as jumping jacks?
No.
I'll let you be the judge. So if you say no, then maybe we can throw out your dancing number as well.
Okay.
So let's throw out 10 as well. So the numbers we should be using, Beat Saber sounds intensive.
It can get intense depending on the level you have the difficulty on.
All right. So were you on a high level were you like jumping jack level? Do you think like 25 jumping jacks would equal the same amount of slashing, sabering skill?
Yeah, I was technically in like the middle because there's easy, normal, hard, expert, and expert plus, and I was on hard mode.
Okay. All right. So let's leave your data in. Kate, if you really feel like your dancing was of jumping jack quality, then we can keep yours in too. Otherwise, we'll take it out. Because right now I was going to go with 9.5, 24, 13, and 26.
Yeah.
If everybody is in agreement with that, then we will go with those 4 numbers. Okay. So maybe do this just so we all know which ones we're doing. Okay. All right. So we are going to use those 4 numbers. So our N now is 4 instead of 7, n minus 1 is going to be 3. And did anybody calculate the mean yet, or the average, I should say?
$18.13.
Correcto. All right. All right, so
So where are we putting this with new data?
so this new data is going to go right here. Okay, and we're just gonna, because there's so few people, we're not gonna do 2 categories. We're just gonna do one. Okay, and we did it based on I'm gonna call this the strenuousness of the exercise, because we kind of all agreed that many people said they did jumping jacks and whatnot. So we're doing like this orange category of strenuous exercise, and we're gonna put this here. Okay, so let's do standard deviation, and might as well do error since nobody seemed to have questions or anything like that. Let's go. And we should see a difference in our standard deviation, but we shall see. Okay.
No. Don't you have scissors?
I don't know.
They're not over here. You know where scissors might be? I thought they were. Oh, here they are. A couple different scissors, right? Are these scissors?
No, those ones don't feel very good.
don't know.
Those
I'm
purple ones.
I don't know.
They're over there. You did cutting yesterday. You just have to look for them, honey. If you didn't put them back in the same place, that's on you.
Take a look, Danny. I gotta.
Okay.
What up, Danny? I don't know, Eddie. I thought they should be over there. I can go look at them in the meeting, but.
All right. All right, what are we getting, folks? I got a pretty similar, actually, no, not at all. So this is great. All right. Did people get 8.12? Unless I did something wrong. I am human. What did we get? Bueller. Maybe we don't know that reference.
Bueller.
Yeah, somebody knows the reference. What did we get for standard deviation?
Right.
Did anybody get about 18.12? I'm sorry, not 18, 8.12.
I apparently don't know what I'm doing then.
But wait, because I could have made a mistake too. Did anybody else get around 8?
Yeah, I got 8.107.
Yes, yes. I have 107. Yes, that's close enough to mine. So it's just rounding differences. All right. So if two of us got that, then we're cool beans. So all right. So Gabe, I know you said maybe you don't know what you're doing. This is my hopefully you can read my handwriting. It's absolutely horrible. So here's my average, 18.13. Then I set out all my X points, subtracted my 18.13,
Are you
squared
writing right
those.
now?
No, it's on.
No?
I'm
Oh.
screen sharing, but I put it up to my camera.
Oh, I
So
can't
if-
see anyone's camera right now.
Hold on. My mouse is frozen too.
Just click
Here,
on the
is this
camera.
better?
Oh, yeah.
Doo-doo-doo. Can you see my math?
Oh, yeah.
So then here's all my my square rooted answers, and then my summation, 197.2. After I did my summation, and then I divided that by 3. And then I took that whole thing, I took a square root of that,
Oh,
and my answer was 8.12.
okay. I see where I went wrong.
So you could have, a lot of people forget that this is n minus 1. So if you divided by 4, that'll screw you up.
Yes.
Okay. That could have been that. It's very, very possible. Easy mistake. Okay. And then did anybody try standard error? I got 4.06. But again, that was using my my 8.12. Okay. So to do standard error, you should have taken
Wait.
the standard deviation divided by the square root of n.
I have a question.
Yeah. Go.
Are we supposed to be doing like when we calculate the standard deviation? Are we supposed to be doing it like you doing at the math, or because on the actual like the practice they gave us like the calculator way, so that's the way that I've been doing it. I don't know if that makes a
And
difference.
You can do either way works.
Okay.
It's totally up to you. I prefer to do it by hand.
Okay.
But that's just the old person in me, because that's how I used to do it in school. So that's how I prefer to do it. So I know if you do it the calculator way, it'll be faster for you, and kudos to you. As long as you get a similar answer, it should be fine.
Okay.
Okay. And the something to mention too is if we do have a so move thinking ahead to the AP exam. They may ask you for standard deviation on an FRQ. And if they ask you it for an FRQ, they might specifically say show work. And if they say show work, then they would want to see your math. Okay. If they don't say show work, but they still ask you for standard deviation, you can just answer it and then do it on a calculator. But then the other thing to think about too is they could ask you for a standard deviation equation in a multiple choice question, where they would give you possible answer choices, and then you would want to pick the one that's obviously closer. So if you rounded differently, or you didn't plug it exactly the same way in a calculator that the people that created the test would, maybe you would get like Melissa and I earlier were getting slightly different answers. That 18.83 or 18.79, pick the one that's closest to yours as the right answer. Obviously, if that makes sense. Okay. So, all right. So if we go back to our lab here, so we've got 8.12, and then standard error, I was getting 4.06. Wasn't everybody getting something similar? Even using a calculator? Maybe, I hope.
Yeah.
Okay. So don't forget about category 2. We're not going to do it again because we just don't have enough test subjects to do that. Okay. And I'm going to skip this graph portion for now and just go to here. This question, this first question, how do the standard deviation and standard error compare to the original? So how does the standard deviation compare? We originally had 18.83 and now we have 8.12. What does that mean, that it's now smaller?
It decreased by about 10.
Yeah, so what does that mean though? It decreased, but like on an FRQ, they would ask you, what does that mean? The fact that it decreased, what the hell does that add up to? What does that add up to? A hill of beans? Like, what does that mean if my standard deviation is now smaller instead of bigger? If you think of these things on a number line, what does that mean?
They're less spread out.
Yeah, they're not as spread out. My numbers are not as spread out as they used to be. So we used to have that crazy 60 number. And then we also had 10, and we had something else that we threw, 5. We had 5, we threw that out. Okay. So my numbers, my data points are not as variable. The spread between them isn't as big. And then we can do the same thing and talk about the error. The standard error for the first one was 7. Standard error was 4. So the error difference is a lot smaller. So when you make your error bars, they're going to be smaller. Like we talked about yesterday, if the error bar is smaller, there's not as much difference between all the numbers. I'm hoping this is clicking in your brains.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes I can't tell because I'm staring at blankness and nobody says anything. Okay, so your mission now is to create your graph, answer the analysis questions now that we have our data. Okay, I will leave the Zoom on if you need help, if you want to go over how to do standard deviation and standard error. If you weren't getting the same numbers as those of you that shouted numbers out to me, if you weren't getting the same thing and you want to go over a couple more problems together, I'll stay here. I can give us some data and we can do it together. If you need help on the graph, stay on. Otherwise, you are free to leave.
Are we doing the graph on the first set of data or the second set?
So I left it open-ended for a reason. So it says of our class data. So you would do it on the first set. Okay. So the first set of data. So which means error bars will be a little bit different. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, so stay if you want. Ask me questions if you want. I'm going to stop screen sharing because I don't feel like I need to share that. Okay.
Sweet. See you later.
Okay. All right, I'll leave this open.